Start the class lying on your back in a way that's comfortable for you. Then begin to tune into your breath. Notice the quality of each inhale and the quality of each exhale. Whether your breath feels fast or slow. Whether your breath feels smooth or feels wobbly. Whether your breath feels shallow or feels deep. Becoming really curious about the breath, about your breath. Feeling the belly rise as you breathe in and belly fall back as you breathe out. Feel for allowing that movement and that sense of your breath in the belly to deepen, but without force. Then take your hands on the front of the rib cage, so still lying down. Rest the hands on the front of the rib cage. Breathe so you have a sense of movement there. Breathe so you feel as much movement as possible there. Staying with this focus on feeling the breath. Noticing the movements of the rib cage and of the belly. And knowing that inside, the lungs are moving and your diaphragm is moving. Feeling for allowing that movement to be as full as possible. Then slide your hands more around onto the side, lower edge of the rib cage. So feel the side body and feel where the ribs come down to and rest the hands there. Now I want you to feel for getting this part of the ribs to move. Sending the breath into the area your hands are now. And to get the most movement, you actually will be taking less breaths. Because you're allowing more time for the inhale to become more deep, and then more time for the exhale to empty out as completely as possible. Now I want you to focus on the lower back edge of the rib cage. You could either just push the lower back edge of the ribs towards the floor, or you could slide your hand underneath the back ribs and lightly press the lower back ribs down into your hand. Now feel for if you can breathe such that you actually feel the lower back ribs moving. Exploring breath by breath, breathing as fully as you can. And thus getting even more movement around the rib cage. Then let's just do this one by pressing down into the floor. Press down towards the floor, like the mid back, or even the space between the shoulder blades. Lightly press that down into the floor, and then breathe into that area of the back and of the ribs. Press the space between the shoulder blades down towards the floor. And I want you to notice if you can feel a subtle or even a big movement in the shoulder blades as you breathe in and out. I can feel a little bit that my shoulder blades move out to the sides as I breathe in. And the shoulder blades move a little closer as I breathe out. Connect to your shoulder blades. Connect your breath to your shoulder blade area. Noticing if you can feel any movement around the shoulder blades. Now let's connect to the top of the lungs. Place your hands on the upper chest, somewhere near the collarbones, resting the whole flat surface of the hand on the upper chest. Now send your breath into this area. Into this upper lung area, upper chest area. Also sending the breath towards the top of the shoulders. Without hiking the shoulders up, though. There's a movement that's coming from the movement of the rib cage not from the neck muscles or the shoulder muscles. Now rest your hands on the floor, and I want you to feel for expanding your breath in all directions on the inhale. And then staying with the breath through the exhale. Expanding on the inhale. And contracting on the exhale. Let's move into a lying down twist. Just stretch your arms out to the side and have your knees bent. And then continuing to breathe in this most expansive way. Slowly track your knees from one side to the other. Moving with the breath, whatever way that feels natural. Consciously letting the breath expand in all directions. And then gather back in. Do twice more to each side. Continuing to slow down the breath and deepen the breath. Making that more important than anything else. Once you've finished the round you're on, then roll over onto one side and then sit up. If you like to sit on something and you don't have a yoga block at home, you could take something like a cushion or a folded up blanket to sit on. If you have a blanket to hand, get hold of that now, and I want you to wrap it around the back, like so. I'll show you from this side. It's hard to tell because I'm wearing a white t-shirt, but I'm wrapping the blanket underneath my armpits and then holding onto the blanket and pulling it forwards. I'm going to find a darker blanket to demonstrate with. So I've got this blanket. It's underneath my armpits, wrapped around the back. I'm holding onto the blanket with both hands now and slightly pulling it forwards. And then when I'm breathing, I can feel my breath in the ribs. If you don't have a blanket to hand, the alternative for this would be to have the hands crossed over and hands on the side ribs, or hands like this, if you've not got a blanket. If you have the blanket, keep the blanket there And I want everybody to feel for this movement of the rib cage, where it's like, a good word is circumferential. It's like the breath is expanding in all directions, like in all directions in the circle, and also expanding up and down too. So just really tuning into that feeling of your massive breath. My intention for the class today is to really tune into the breath. Tune into feeling sensation of the breath. And feel, if it works for you, for finding joy in the breath. For finding joy in whatever level of breath you can find today, whether it's a day that it's really hard to breathe smoothly and deeply, or whether it's a day that it feels like your breath just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Finding joy and maybe gratitude for whatever breaths you're able to take right now. Deliberately listening to and feeling and cultivating the breath. Which is a really glorious and important part of our aliveness. Great. Release the blanket. And we'll come into a side bend now. Straighten your right leg out to the side and then have your left foot in front of the hip. Inhale, plant your right hand down on the floor. Exhale and lift the left arm up into a side bend. Explore what feelings you can connect to as you breathe here. There's this potential right now for getting an extra opening in the left-hand side of the ribs. So feeling if you can access that. Like making the breath so big that that space between your left armpit and your left hip just expands with each breath in and then gathers in with each breath out. Second arm position here is chest opener. Take the arm so it's kind of at a high angle, and then the hand comes back. If kind of having the arm in any of these positions, or in fact doing anything, does not feel comfortable or appropriate for your body right now, feel free to take a different position. The aim for this one here is to find an opening around the upper chest. So if it feels better to you to have the arm at a different angle, or even to change the position of the neck or the torso, if you get a better opening here without any stress to your shoulder, explore finding what works for you. Send some extra breath up to that left chest area. Helping to ease out any tightness there. Next pose here we'll do is a forward bend. Bring both hands to the floor, either side of your straight leg. And then relax forward, relaxing the head forwards. If this doesn't feel so good to your lower back to come further down, then stay higher up so it's not stressful to the lower back. And then feel for sending breath into your back ribs. Send breath to your back ribs, to the back of your diaphragm, and then to the lower back. Letting the breath be the most important thing. Changing anything you need to change about any pose to make it better for you. Then sit all the way up. Inhale and bring your right foot in. Exhale, reach your left foot out to the side. Let's come into the other side. Inhale and plant the left hand down. Exhale, lift the right arm up into a side bend. Sending loads of breath into the space between your right hip and your right armpit. Feeling for really freeing up the lungs and the breath. This is a really awesome thing to do at any moment in time, whether you're well or whether you're sick. Whether it's a day that you've got lots of energy or a day that you've not got lots of energy. Easing your lungs into breathing more and breathing more efficiently is just fantastic because the oxygen is one of the things we need to function. Chest opener. Adjust the angle of this right arm and then take the hand back a little, aiming to find an opening around the top right hand side of the chest. Either resting your hand on the leg, or if it feels good to have a hand on the chest to send the breath there, that's good. That could work too. Feel free to play with the angle of your head, of your torso, of your arm, so that you can get a good stretch here. If your shoulder's really tricky, you can also try sometimes bending the elbow. Figuring out what's the best way for you to do this. Knowing that you can change any pose in any way at any time. The only person who gets to really decide what happens in your body is you. Come into a forward bend now. Hands either side of the leg. Staying more upright if that feels better to your lower back, or coming lower down and rounding the back if that feels nice. Take a gigantic inhale into the back ribs. Exhale, relaxing the head forwards. Sending breath into your back body. Freeing up your breath. Feeling the breath. Maybe even finding joy or gratitude for the breath. It's something that's unconscious a lot of the time, but we can bring it into conscious choice. Breathing deeply. And that can be really powerful for the nervous system, for the immune system, and just for feeling good. Walk your hands towards the hips, sit up, and then we'll move on to the hands and knees. If you need any padding for your knees, put a blanket or cushion underneath the knees, and then come on to the hands and knees. Doing cat-cow first. Inhale, tilt the tailbone up. Let the belly soften down, lift the chest, lift the chin a little. Exhale, tailbone tilts down. Mid-back pushes up towards the ceiling, head relaxes forward like an angry cat. Inhale, tailbone tilts down, belly drops down like the udders of a cow, lifting the head a little. Exhale, angry cat, tailbone tilts down, mid-back pushes up, head relaxes forward. Cow, tailbone tilts up, udders drop down, head lifts up. Keep going in that pattern, now finding your own rhythm and tuning into your own breath. Making this movement as slow as it needs to be to connect to your slow and powerful breath. With your breath, with this movement, freeing up the torso. Like if there are places that feel tight, send more breath there. Or use this movement to ease the movement into the tight spots. Next thing we'll do is downward facing dog. Now, I want you to stay in real connection with your breath so that when you go up into this mini upside down position, you can still feel what your breath is like, even though you're slightly upside down. So inhale, tuck the toes under, press all 10 fingers down. Exhale, lift the knees up, coming into downward facing dog. If this doesn't feel okay on the wrist today, do dolphin with the forearms on the floor. Now be in that sense of attention with your breath. Expanding on inhale in all directions. On exhale, feeling that slight gathering in and contraction. Let your neck relax. Stay here for 3 more steady breaths before bringing your knees to the floor. Observing your breath. Once you're done with 3 breaths, bring your knees down to the floor. And we'll move on to doing some abdominals. We will need to start off with something that you can squeeze between your thighs. So if you've got something like a nice fat cushion, you could fold it in half and use that. Or you could take a blanket and roll it up. But you need something of a decent width that you can squeeze. So find something that you can squeeze between the thighs, place it between the inner thighs, and then lie down on the floor. Rest the hands on the belly and set your feet up as if you would when you were doing bridge. Set the feet parallel. Inhale, expanding the breath in all directions. Then on the exhale, start to connect to the belly muscles, gathering the belly in. Inhale, let the belly soften, expanding the breath in all directions. Exhale, gathering the belly in. Adding in a little more abdominal engagement now on the exhale. One more like this. So inhale, expanding expanding in all directions, belly softens. Exhale, gathering the belly in. Light abdominal engagement. Let's add a bit of a hip tilt to this now. So inhale, expanding the breath any way you can. Exhale, gather the belly in, squeeze the thing between your thighs, and let the hips tilt up an inch or two. Inhale, bring the hips back down to the floor. Exhale, gather the belly in, squeeze the thing, lift the hips, light abdominal engagement. Inhale, expanding, bring the hips back down to the floor. Exhale, gather the belly in, squeeze the cushion, block, or blanket, lift the hips, gathering the belly in. Inhale in all directions, hips come back down to the floor. Do 3 more on your own. Paying attention to your breath. Then once you've finished those 3, keep the roll in between your inner thighs, and we will do abs with the roll. So in fact, let's do twisting abs with a roll. Let's start by doing 1 round with the feet on the floor and the cushion between the inner thighs. In fact, we'll do 2 rounds like this, and then we'll change it up a bit. Clasp the hands behind the head. Great. Inhale in all directions and lift the head and shoulders up. Notice how there's slightly less space for the breath here. Hold the breath, press the lower back down, curl the tailbone up. Exhale, reach both elbows for the left knee, curl the tailbone a second time, squeeze the thing between your thighs. Inhale, elbows to the center, keep your head and shoulders up. Hold the breath, squeeze the cushion, curl the tailbone up. Exhale, both elbows reach to the right, curl the tailbone a second time, squeeze the cushion, pull the belly down. Inhale, elbows to the middle, massive breath in. Hold the breath. Squeeze the cushion, press lower back down, curl tailbone up. Exhale, elbows reach left. Curl tailbone a second time, squeeze the cushion, gather belly in. Massive inhale, elbows come to the middle. Keep the head and shoulders up. Hold the breath, squeeze the cushion, press lower back down, curl tailbone up. Exhale, reach both elbows to the right knee. Curl the tailbone a second time, squeeze the roll, gather the belly in. Inhale, elbows to the middle. Exhale, head and shoulders come down to the floor. We're going to do another 2 rounds. If you felt like that was quite challenging enough, or you feel like your lower back is a little bit weak or wobbly today, stay in the same position with the feet on the floor. If you feel like, no, I could work this at a slightly more challenging level, you have 2 options. Either you take the legs up, keeping the legs bent to a right angle like this, or super strong option, take the legs straight up in the air. Whichever position your legs are in, your legs will stay in that position. It's just the head and shoulders that are moving. All right. Inhale, lift the head and shoulders up. Hold the breath, squeeze the cushion, press lower back down, curl tailbone up. Exhale, both elbows reach towards left knee. Curl the tailbone a second time, squeeze the cushion, pull belly down. Inhale, elbows to the middle. Hold the breath, squeeze the prop, press lower back down, curl tailbone up. Exhale, elbows reach right. Curl tailbone a second time, squeeze the prop, gather the belly in. Inhale, elbows to the middle. Massive breath in. Hold the breath, squeeze the prop, press lower back down, curl tailbone up. Exhale, elbows reach left. Curl tailbone a second time, squeeze onto the prop, gather the belly in. Massive breath in as you bring the elbows to the middle. Head stays up. Hold the breath. Squeeze onto the cushion. Push lower back down. Curl tailbone up. Exhale, elbows reach right. Curl the tailbone up a second time. Squeeze the cushion again. Gather the belly in. Inhale, elbows come to the middle. Exhale, bring the head to the floor. And then the feet to the floor. And lose your prop from between the inner thighs. Take the arms out to the side and do a lying down twist. Same as before, tracking the knees from side to side. Coming back into that connection, that really deep connection with your breath, staying in this twist. Do one more on either side. And then roll over entirely onto one side and come back onto the hands and knees briefly to move into downward facing dog and then come into a standing forward bend. So place the hands on the floor. Inhale and widen the shoulders. Exhale, lift the knees up and come into downward facing dog. Let's stay here for a few breaths. Noticing how breathing deeply while slightly upside down is a slightly different experience. If you're having a strong day, you could also do turbo dog here, bending the elbows, but keep breathing deeply. To come out of this, walk your feet towards the hands, coming into a forward bend. Have your knees bent and relax your torso forwards. If this feels not so good for your lower back, bring your hands onto the thighs, supporting your weight slightly with the hands on the thighs. And then lift your torso up, come into a standing position. Let's do a really simple flowing movement with the breath. Have your feet hip distance apart on the mat and start with the hands in prayer position. Inhale, reach the arms out to the side. Exhale, bend the knees, come into a forward bend. If you need to support the back by having the hands on the thighs, do that. If it feels fine to let the arms relax down, you could do that. Inhale, come up, sweeping the arms forwards and up. Exhale, hands back to the middle. So that's the very simple pattern. I'll talk you through it a couple more times, and then I want you to do a few on your own, but really being in that feeling of connecting to breath. So inhale, arms out. Exhale, forward. Bend your knees. Inhale, coming up. Arms up. Exhale, hands to the middle. Inhale, arms to the sides. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, standing up. Exhale, hands to the middle. Do 2 more rounds on your own, just at the pace of your own breath. Staying with that focus and feeling of your breath. Perhaps even cultivating joy or gratitude in the breath. Once you're finished with that round, stand upright with your feet active. So lifting and spreading the toes. Tuning into that sense of how the breath is expanding in all directions as you inhale. And gathering in on the exhale. And that will feel slightly different to being upside down or to lying on your back. Great. Now come and stand near the short end of your mat. So this is a standing pose series. Inhale, step your right leg back, have your left leg forward. Exhale and bend the left knee so it's over the left ankle. Warrior one legs. Take your hands onto the side ribs or wrap your hands over the front so you can have the hands on the sides. And feel the movement of your breath. A sense of the lungs expanding. And then the lungs gathering in. So the intercostal muscles between your ribs will be expanding on the inhale. And then gathering in on the exhale. Now bring your arms into bird wing position. So elbows are next to my ribs, palms are in front. Inhale, stretch out the fingers and have the shoulders down. Exhale, take the hands out to the side, keeping the elbows and the upper arms next to the rib cage. Everybody, do 2 more rounds of bird wing. So hands come out on the exhale, hands come in on the inhale. Really being tuned into the breath. Like you may be able to feel the ribs move through your upper arm. Great, and then relax the arms. Next thing we'll do here is eagle arms. So staying in warrior one legs with the left leg forwards. Inhale, bring the arms up in front of you. Exhale, cross left elbow over right, and then move the backs of the hands towards each other. Or maybe even clasp the palms. If it doesn't work for your shoulders for your hands to come together, then it may be just your elbows are hooked over. Or if you need to do something different for your shoulders, that's totally fine too. Notice how this sets up a constriction around the upper body. What does it feel like to be tuned into your breath with that? Can you deliberately send breath into the shoulders and the chest, even though those areas are a bit constricted right now? Uncross the elbows. Now bring both hands to the floor for Maine Coon cat stretch. For this one, you'll step your right foot further back and balance on the right toes. So my right toes are curled under. Inhale and plant both hands down on the floor to the inside of your left foot. Exhale, reach back with the right heel. The right knee is off the floor. If you're flexible, you might be able to do this with the elbows on the floor. But if the elbows don't go to the floor, don't worry, keep the hands on the floor. Massive, expansive inhale and slide the whole rib cage forwards. Exhale and lengthen the right heel backwards. Next pose is easy twisting lunge. Inhale, bring the right knee down to the floor. Exhale, bring the right hand onto the floor, and then lift the left arm up in the air. Now, if you need to adjust your shoulders in any way, feel free to take different positions with the arms. And continue to have that awareness of breath, of the rib movement, and a sense of the lungs. Okay, bring the top hand down, and then lift the torso up. Next thing is nomad's pose. Inhale and take the left foot further forward and point the left toes. Exhale, lean forwards, bringing the hands onto the floor or onto the leg. Let's do a pendulum with the foot here. Inhale, point the toes. Exhale, flex the foot. Inhale, point the toes. Exhale, flex the foot. Do that 3 more times. Being with breath and with movement. Great. Then come into a lunge. Bring the left foot a little bit closer in, and then work with dropping the hips forwards. If your knee feels not so good on the floor, if you're in a hard floor, I'd recommend putting something underneath the knee. And then we'll do some shoulder shrugs here. So with the arms relaxed, take a huge breath into the upper back. Slide the shoulders up, slide the shoulders back. Squeeze the tops of shoulder blades together. Exhale and slide them down. Inhale into upper back, shoulders relaxed. Squeeze the middle of the shoulder blades together. Exhale, slide them down the back. Deep breath in. Squeeze the elbows in, squeeze the lower edges of the shoulder blades in. Exhale and slide down. Relax the arms. Another round like that. Deep breath into the upper back. Feel for the breath being expansive. Shoulders up, shoulders back. Squeeze tops of shoulder blades together. Now sigh as you bring the shoulders down. Explore if you can find joy in sighing. Deep breath in. Squeeze the mid-shoulder blades together. Sigh. Expansive breath in. Lower edges of the shoulder blades squeeze together. Elbows squeeze in. Sigh and drag down. Great. One more thing on this side, which is pigeon, twisting across the thigh. This is a little different to a regular pigeon. You'll set yourself up now so that your left knee is forwards, right leg is back in kind of a pigeon position. I would recommend putting something underneath your left hip in order to stabilize the hips so you're not wobbling around. And then walk your hands over to the left and lie down across the left thigh. So it's kind of like a regular pigeon, but you're going over to the left, so you get a bit of additional twist in this. If this does not feel good to your knee, or you want to do pigeon a different way, feel free. An alternative, if your knee feels pressured by pigeons, is to do a lying on the back version. Notice the feeling of your breath here. Continuing this exploration of expanding the breath in all directions. And of exploring whether you can find joy or gratitude in the breath. Your breath has probably gotten deeper over the last hour or so of practice. Congratulate yourself for that. Just noting any differences from when you started to observe the breath at the start of the class. whether it's slower or deeper or smoother, or you're just more aware of it. Inhale, lift the torso up. Exhale, bring the hands back to the middle. Come onto the hands and knees, and then into downward facing dog. Staying here for a few breaths upside down. Being like 100% focused on the breath. If it feels good to move the shoulders and hips, play with that. But stay with an awareness of the breath. Then walk your feet into the hands and stand up. Great. Other side of this standing pose series. So find yourself at one of the short ends of your mat. Inhale and step the left leg back. Your right foot will be forwards. Exhale, bend the right knee. So it's over the right ankle. Take the hands onto your ribs. Luxuriating in your sense of your breath. Enjoying taking deep breaths as if they were your favorite form of luxury. Whether that's chocolate or cats or whatever. Luxuriating in your breath. Your ability to take a choice and breathe deeply. Bird wing arms. Inhale and set up with the hands in front, upper arms pressing into the ribs. Exhale, take the hands out to the side, squeeze the upper arms in. Inhale, hands come closer in. Exhale, hands come out to the side, squeeze the upper arms in. Inhale, hands come closer. Exhale, hands come out to the side. 2 more. Eagle arms is next. Keep your legs in warrior one with the right foot forward. Inhale, bring the elbows up. Exhale, cross the right elbow over the left elbow, coming into your version of eagle arms. Exploring this interplay between the pose and the breath. Feeling for taking conscious choices around the breath to help you release tension. Like sometimes our unconscious tension can really sit in places and limit the breath. And when we become aware of those pockets of tension, then we can use the breath to ease those places. Uncross your arms and we'll do Maine Coon cat stretch. Hands come down to the floor inside of the right foot. Left foot is going a little bit further back, and you're balancing on the left toes. Either working this with the hands on the floor or the elbows on the floor, whichever suits your body best today. Inhale, slide the rib cage forwards. Exhale, reach the left hip backwards. Tracking what your breath feels like in each pose, in each moment. Noticing the moments that it is harder to take a deep breath. And exploring if there is a way to find just even a slightly deeper breath. Bring your left knee down to the floor for easy twisting lunge now. So take the left hand onto the floor and right hand up in the air. Feeling each breath. Feeling for the interplay between each breath and each pose. Different feelings are possible, different actions are possible, different release is possible. Inhale, bring the hand down and lift the torso up. Exhale, take your right foot further forward so you can straighten the leg. And then lean forward into nomad's pose, taking your hands onto the leg or onto the floor. Inhale, point the toes. Exhale, flex the foot. Bring the toes towards the knee. So inhale, point the foot away. Exhale, flex the foot. Do 3 more. Being conscious of the breath. Great. Lunge was next. Take your right foot back a little bit and then bring the hips forwards. We did some shoulder shrugs here, so I'll talk you through one round, then you can do one round on your own. Deep breath into the upper back. Shoulders up, shoulders back. If it felt good to sigh, sigh as you exhale and drag the shoulders down. Inhale, relaxing the upper back. Squeeze the middle of the shoulder blades together. Exhale, sigh, and move down. Inhale, noticing the upper back. Squeeze the elbows in. Squeeze the lower part of the shoulder blades together. Exhale. Do 3 more breaths here, using those breaths to help release your shoulders any way that works for you right now. Then once you finish that, make your way into pigeon with your right knee forwards. Right knee's forward, left leg's going back. We'll do twisting pigeon. So level up your hips by putting something underneath your right hip. Inhale, lift the chest forward and up. Exhale, walk your hands around to the right And then lie down across the right thigh. As ever, if you need to change anything, make a change to the pose. And stay with that awareness of your breath. Allowing yourself to stay with the feeling of the breath. Physical sensation. And if emotional sensations arise as well, if emotions arise, just allowing yourself to feel them. Whether that's joy or anger or sadness or something else. Giving yourself permission to feel. Giving yourself space to just breathe and feel. Inhale and sit up. Exhale, come out of pigeon and make your way into a sitting position on your mat. Let's work with a twist now. Take your right leg so it's straight and then cross the left leg over the top. Holding onto the knee, just feel your deep breath here. Then next time you exhale, move into a twist, taking your left hand behind you on the floor. Staying really aware of the breath, the feeling of the breath. Softening the shoulders to allow space for the breath. Notice if any part of you is gripping or tightening. Soften those places and feel if you can get even more breath. Sometimes the solution is to do less rather than to do more. Then untwist. Change the legs over. Before you move into the twist, take a couple of breaths facing forwards. Just feeling your Feeling your breath, your spacious breath. And then twist the other way. Feeling for keeping that quality of spaciousness. And softening any edges. Like if your arms or shoulders are gripping, letting that go and feeling if that allows more space. Letting go of some of the holding on. Allowing yourself to be, allowing yourself to feel. Then untwist, uncross your leg, and set yourself up for Shavasana, to rest for the end of the class. So whatever you want to do to set yourself up for Shavasana, do that now. Whatever props or warm things you want, find those now. Moving yourself into a position that will be really nice and restful. Take a few sighing breaths, just breathing in through the nose, then sighing through the mouth. Enjoying that. Enjoying your breath. Taking a moment to congratulate yourself for anything you learned about your breath, about your body, about yourself. And letting yourself choose whether you want to stay in an active breath or you want to let your breath just relax to its natural pattern. Whatever is most restful for you. Allowing yourself to drop into rest. Keeping a thread of awareness with your breath. Trusting that your body and your breath know what to do. Your breath can also happen without you trying. Your breath has been moving through you since the day you were born. And you can trust your breath to continue to move through you. Trust your wise body, your wise breath, allowing yourself to rest for a few minutes. Observe your natural resting breath. And allow it to slowly deepen with a minimum of effort. Just allowing the breath to open more. Feel for your connection to your breath. And notice whether you're able to enjoy that or feel gratitude for that. However your breathing is right now, recognizing that the journey with the breath is the journey of a lifetime. Not just a journey through an hour and a half of yoga. And then begin to move and take 3 or 4 breaths to come back to an upright position. Letting your breath carry you. Unless you want to stay resting on the floor, which is totally okay as well. So thank you all for joining me this evening. I feel very lucky to be in connection with you all in all different directions. And I hope that you keep well and you have a good week. And thank you for coming. We will